They use whatever they can get their hands on: guns, knives, machetes, baseball bats, tire irons, or their fists and feet, not just to inflict violence. They use violence to shock, to send a message, and to control territory here in the U.S. and in Central America. The Attorney General has answered the President's call, and we at the Justice Department are moving forward aggressively against MS-13.
Wow, MS-13. That was Deputy Attorney General Robert Hur speaking at today's White House briefing, outlining the Department of Justice's plans to fight the MS-13 gang. Hur took the stage as Attorney General Jeff Sessions is in El Salvador, meeting there with officials to help ramp up the international effort in battling that gang. Now, despite public criticism from the president, Sessions has stayed on task in the fight against MS-13. Joining me now to discuss, Nick Adams, the author of Green Card Warrior and the founder of the Foundation for Liberty and American Greatness, and Ron Bamieh, a criminal defense attorney and former assistant chief deputy at the Department of Justice. Ron, I'll start with you. I got to tell you, this trip to El Salvador, everything going on in terms of fighting crime so seriously. I'm so impressed with what Sessions is doing. What do you make of it?
Well, I think he's doing his job. I think even in light of what's going on in D.C. and the president's comments, he made it clear today in some of the comments I've heard and read that he's focused on his job, and that's to be the country's head law enforcement officer. And he's doing what he should be doing, and he's going after the gang where they live, and he's hoping to get a consensus so he can fight them here at home.
Nick, is it just business as usual, or do you think this is a special effort?
Well, Jerry, look, I think it's great, whatever it is. I think it's very important that we make sure that MS-13 is no longer. That's something that President Trump promised back in June, and I think that's what's going to happen. And I think it's also good in light of all of the exciting things that have been happening over the last couple of days that Attorney General Sessions has some distance to let things cool down.
Distance to let things cool down, but he is under fire yet again today from the president and others, taking shots, Ron, left, right, and center. How important do you believe is this MS-13 priority? I mean, at the end of the day, what kind of trouble does it pose for U.S. residents long term?
Well, you're talking about one of the most violent gangs in this country, and they're not only in one area, they're all over the country. You've got MS-13 gang members in Chicago. You have them in New York. You have them here in Los Angeles, where I'm at. They're all over the coast. You have a very prevalent violent street gang who's engaged in a lot of illegal activities. So for us, for United States citizens, it should be a priority. They have to be gone after, and they have to be taken out.
Nick, you know, it's interesting that Deputy AG also took on sanctuary cities, you know, saying that they will refuse to allow them to become sanctuaries for criminals. Is that what's going on right now? Is this where those folks get their start, in these very cities?
Look, tough on crime is something that both President Trump and Senator Sessions and now Attorney General Sessions have always had in common. It's something that they campaigned on, and it's something that the American people expect for them to be and get done. And I think that's what we're seeing. That's why we saw the Deputy Attorney General focusing on making sure that these are not sanctuaries for these criminals. I've been to Victoria, Texas. I've seen some of these places where MS-13 has really been running rampant, and it's so incredibly important that this heinous, brutal gang be no longer.
A lot of people say that you have to have access, though, to other immigrants, legal or illegal, to track down these gangs. Ron, do you agree?
Well, in a way, yes, in a way, no. I mean, what you have to do, and what we know through history and what we know through law enforcement who's gone after gangs for years, is that you have to turn them against each other. It's not necessarily the citizens who are going to break the case open for law enforcement. It's other gang members who will turn on other gang members. The way most gangs are broken is somebody turns on the gang. In my history in law enforcement, the way we've always fought it is we always go over the head of the snake. And when you go for the head of the snake, you got to get the ones below the head in order to get the head. And so you have to turn gang members in order to really prosecute and convict other gang members. And if you even look the way the mafia has been prosecuted, how has that been prosecuted? It's been prosecuted when other mafia people turn on the leaders of the gang and become informants for the government. And it's going to be the same with this gang. There's going to be heavy enforcement by the police on the lines, but to really take out the gang, you have to take out the leadership.
Take out the leadership. Nick, quick last thoughts here. Is that right? Is it the head of the snake you have to go after?
Definitely. Look, I'm not an expert, but I think that makes a lot of sense. I think that's what needs to happen. We need to throw all the resources we possibly can. I think this is welcome news for the Trump administration, for the American people, and I think it'll lead to a good outcome. We want to make sure that these people are not able to come here and do harm to us. That's the #1 priority of any government.